It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com. You can follow me on social media at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. You know, I was all ready to sit here and play you all this sound from this Karen Bass interview that she did with Vice News on a show called Shane Asks Questions about the fires and the riots and homelessness, but something just happened on that just broke and it's going all over the place, and kind of confused about it, but I'm kind of interested in it. And that is that CBS and Paramount have just announced that they are canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the late night program that took over for David Letterman when he retired in 2016, and that The Late Show is going to officially end in May of next year. Let me read you straight from KTLA. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is reportedly coming to an end next May, according to CBS News. The announcement came from Colbert himself during Thursday's taping of the show. I want to let you know something I found out last night, he told the live audiences. In a statement to CBS News, Paramount said the Late Show franchise will end in May 2026 at the end of the broadcast season, and the decision to pull the plug was for financial reasons only. We consider Stephen Colbert irreplaceable and will retire the Late Show franchise at that time. We are proud that Stephen called CBS home. He and the broadcast will be remembered in the pantheon of greats that graced late night television. The statement added that the decision comes against a challenging backdrop in late night and has nothing to do with how the show's been performing. And although ratings for all the late night shows are down across the board, I think Stephen Colbert's show was in first place. But it does lead to a very interesting question just about the changing nature of our entire mediascape. And I'm going to ask you a very simple question as I'm reacting to this news in real time, and I'm sure you are as well. I want to know who really watches these shows live anymore. And this is, you could pick your poison of the person that you like, if you like any of these shows or you think they're too political, but I think the nature of consuming this kind of content is so completely changed that something was going to happen like this eventually. So I got a simple question for you, and I'd love for you to give me a call at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you still watch any traditional late night television shows, whether it be Fallon or Kimmel or Colbert or maybe one of the shows that's on cable? Do you watch traditional late night shows? Did you stop watching traditional late night shows? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. These were shows where you'd get to see celebrity interviews and you'd hear a little of the news of the day and hopefully you'd have a laugh or two. But I feel like in today's landscape, these shows are... This is the first of what's unfortunately going to be many, and that's something that's sad to say, as this is a company town, and some of these shows, like Kimmel, they broadcast right out of Los Angeles, and they employ a whole lot of people. And regardless of what you think of Colbert, regardless of what you think about the politics of that show or how it's not really a comedy show the way you would have thought it would have been years ago, I mean, those are shows that employ a lot of people, and to see anything like that go away, it's painful, but I'm not totally surprised. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. I got to say, growing up in my youngest days, I didn't know anything about late night television because I didn't stay up late at night. I think I got into Saturday Night Live through reruns that would air on Comedy Central. And I didn't know anything. I think, I was growing up in the 90s, so I didn't know anything about Leno. I didn't know anything about Letterman. But in 2002, I watched the Emmys with my parents. and the Emmys were hosted by Conan O'Brien. And everything he did made me laugh so hard that I started researching the man, realizing he has a show every night at 12:35, and I would set my VHS to tape it. Even if I went to bed, I would tape the first 25 minutes of Conan every night because I thought it was the funniest thing on TV. And I bet you I have those VHS tapes somewhere. And so I was a big fan of that for years. You know, growing up in my generation, I really was into The Daily Show for quite a while, in my very, very, very young years when Colbert was on it and playing that parodied version of himself that was so popular that led him to The Late Show. But I haven't watched traditional late night television live, as in when it's on the air, since I moved out of my parents' house in 2007. I just, I got to a point where I was doing so many other things and I was working late night for many, many years in radio that I just completely fell out of it. With YouTube rising, the consumption of these shows became completely different. It didn't really matter if you watched all of them or none of them, because the clips of the interviews and the clips of the segments that would get popular would go on YouTube. Sometimes, and I always find this very funny, whether you watch, any of these shows, Seth Meyers, Colbert, Fallon, if they tape an interview, sometimes it gets posted on YouTube before it even airs on television. But I feel like I have followed these shows, especially when somebody that I like goes on them, then I'll watch that clip. Or if somebody says, hey, you got to check this out. I haven't really seen a lot of people say, you got to look at this comedy bit that's been done on some of these shows in a very long time, probably since Conan left the whole late night world. But yes, I'm biased with that. But as regardless of what you think of the politics of this, or if this has to do with the Paramount deal and Skydance and that kind of criticism, or what's going on in the space, I just think, unfortunately, we're in a completely different world where these shows, and there's more of them than there ever been before. There used to just be 2. And now there are several, but they are less relevant every single year. And again, I say that as somebody who, watching Conan O'Brien definitely helped me form some of my, things that I think about comedy, the things that I think are funny. And being in any kind of industry where I create content, those are the kind of sensibilities that I learned from. But I kind of get it. I don't like it because I don't like any productions going out of business, because I know how many people below the line make their living on shows like this. But you think about how much content can be created on a podcast that has 1 or 2 people, and they've got millions of people listening or millions of people watching now, but the staffs to produce those things are in the, maybe a dozen as opposed to the hundreds. And financially, these shows are not bringing in the ad revenue they used to. But again, that only matters for that side of the business. I'm just curious, as you, as a consumer of television, as a consumer of media in general, do you watch any of these late night shows live anymore? I haven't in many, many, many years. I have watched a lot of clips on YouTube, but I don't know how exactly the networks are supposed to make their money back with that, especially because I pay for YouTube Premium, and that means I don't watch any of those ads. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Are you still watching late night television at all? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Rhonda in Simi Valley. Rhonda, hello.
Hi. So I also stopped watching. The political thing really bugged me, and they're just not that funny anymore. And one thing I also wonder that may be affecting is I don't know anybody that watches commercials anymore. Everybody has DVRs, right? So I don't watch the advertising that those companies are paying to advertise. I'm not watching it. So I feel like maybe that was part of the problem, but even Saturday Night Live is terrible now. So it's just, I don't know. I just think it's just not as funny anymore.
You know what I got to say, as somebody that has watched Saturday Night Live for almost my entire life, I think it has always been mediocre.
It was
Sometimes
funny
it's really
in the
good, but
asteroid time.
oh, back in that generation,
yeah.
for sure. But I grew up in the '90s where there's been times where it's been really good, and there's been times where it's whatever. But yes, if you were watching that when it first launched, that was the most cutting edge thing on television. Now it's there. We put it on in the background on Sunday afternoon when we're drinking. It's there. If a sketch drags on too long, I can fast forward through it.
Yeah. I feel like, and that whole thing with the DVR is like, I don't understand how these companies are paying for this advertising, because who's watching the ads? Nobody. If you have a DVR, you're sure not watching it. So
yeah, sometimes the entire broadcast world, including this radio format that we do here, it all feels like it's just hanging on by a thread sometimes. Thanks so much for the call, Rhonda. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. It was just announced minutes ago that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is being canceled. They're ending the entire format next May. I don't know what they're going to run at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 at night. Maybe they're going to run news. Who knows? But they are ending that late night show, which is, I think, the #1 late night show on broadcast television. What I want to know from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this: do you watch any of these late night shows live anymore? When's the last time you did? Did you stop watching? Do you think all these shows got too political? What happened here? It's a completely changing media landscape. I think YouTube has a lot or almost everything to do with it, but I'd love to hear from you. Do you still watch any of these late night shows anymore? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to John in Arcadia. John, hello.
Hi there. Hey, I only watch one show now. It's Gutfeld. It's on Fox. It is a late night format type show, talk show format. Really funny if you haven't checked it out. You'll find a lot of comedians. But Rhonda's point and your point, everybody's taping. They're running the DVR and this stuff. So I'm skipping all the ads anyway. So I don't know how they would pay for that kind of people and, support that it takes to produce a show like any of those. And I wouldn't watch them for the politics of those guys. But they had an audience, whatever that audience is. But that audience probably wasn't watching any of the commercials, right? And so it doesn't financially make any sense. I've got a good friend who's a CEO of a CFO of a major cable station, not one of the ones you've heard of, but it's a cable station out there, and they haven't made money in 20 years. They barely scrape by. Somehow the guy's a billionaire and he can afford to run it, but they scrape because nobody's watching commercials. The people who are paying for the commercials are buying less and less and paying less and less for commercial airtime because they know it's all being skipped over. So they're going.
Oh no, you're totally right. And there's so much other competition for ad dollars now, whether it's podcast or social media or anything. It's, where are people really going to pay attention to your content? And yeah, people can fast forward through these shows. People are not watching them live, and that makes a major difference. It's funny you say about the cable networks. So many of them, because of cable subscriptions, that's how they made their money. It was never through the ad revenue, but that has gone in the toilet as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll put another plug in for Gutfeld. Should watch it at night. Everybody listen. Gutfeld. Fox News. I think
there you go. That's the show to watch, Gutfeld.
That's the one you guys would like it.
All right. Thanks so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. CBS has announced that they are canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I want to hear your reaction to this. Do you still watch any of these late night shows? Has the media landscape changed so much where these shows are not relevant anymore? I hate to say that as someone that grew up just loving late night television, but I think politics has a little to do with it. I think people just don't watch things the way they used to. Everything I have ever seen from a late night show in the last 10 years is because I watched it on YouTube. And I didn't watch a whole episode. I watched a little clip here and a little clip there. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Do you still watch anything on late night television? We're going to find out if it makes sense that Stephen Colbert is getting canceled. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold as we react to this very interesting breaking news in the entertainment world. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. The news that just broke a few minutes ago is that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is being canceled by CBS, and it's not like they're replacing with somebody. They are ending the format. There will be no more late-night television on CBS. They had already canceled the show that followed Stephen Colbert just a few months ago. What I want to hear from you, because I think there is a massive change in the media landscape, is do you watch any of these late night shows live anymore? I haven't in many, many, many years. And it's not that I dislike some of the content that's out there. It's just based on the way I consume media. I watch clips on YouTube, and I don't know how much money they're making off of that. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you still watch any of these late night shows? Let's go to Monica and Irvine. Monica, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. I don't watch late night TV because it's too late at night. I would rather listen to your podcast and the John Phillips podcast as well while I either crochet or game late at night, and that's much more enjoyable than late night TV. The Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien monologues were funny back in the day, but I wouldn't spend my time on those because your podcasts and John Phillips podcasts are so awesome.
Oh, well, I love that plug. You know what's great about just the audio format in general is that you can, like you said, listen to it while you're doing something else, while you're gaming, while you're crocheting, while you're cooking. The fact that you can do two things at the same time, I think makes this medium last a lot longer than television where your eyeballs just straight up have to be there.
Absolutely, and it strains your eyes too. So I think it's healthier to listen to the audio format, and we have so many options as well out there in the podcast form. But I always find yours. I always like your podcasts and John Phillips' podcast as well to boost the algorithm.
Well, I appreciate that, and we appreciate that, and I'll tell Johnny, and he'll appreciate that as well. Monica, thank you so much for calling. Always appreciate hearing your voice.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I do love to hear that. And you know, it's funny, too. Like I said, I grew up being a huge fan of Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien ended his late night show about 3 years ago. And about 6 years ago, he started doing a podcast. And they also have a channel on Sirius XM. And there's nothing political about it. It's just about comedy. I listen to it all the time. And I love that I can listen to that while I'm hiking or while I'm cooking, or, you know, that's when I need to escape from politics. That's what I listen to. I feel like he saw the writing on the wall and realized that this landscape is changing, and the stuff that happens on that podcast, it is just hilarious. But, you know, that's my own personal taste. But I want to know, are you still watching any of these late night shows? Why did you stop watching the late night shows? Because even though Colbert was number one, he was getting, on the broadcast networks, he was, the numbers have gone steadily down. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Hector in Southgate. Hector, hello.
Yes, thank you, Randy. I love your show. I don't watch that show. I can't stand them. I say good riddance, and I hope they remove the other two idiots also on the other channels. They're nothing but political hacks. All they do is complain about Trump and the Republicans, and they're unwatchable. The last good guy on talk show was Conan. That was it for me.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, I don't know why the shows got all so political, and where literally it's not just in the monologue, but you look at the guests that go on these shows and it's like members of Congress and senators, and what are you doing? This is supposed to be a comedy show and people want to unwind.
Yeah, half of them, I don't know who they are, and they're so liberal and crazy, TDS. It's completely unwatchable. Conan O'Brien was the last great guy.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. And look, I get nothing against the people that are currently on these shows. It's just, and I watch some clips, but I have never had the desire to watch one of these shows from beginning to end. And a lot of the times the guests just are, especially on Colbert. I mean, literally, and this will tell you something about maybe where, you're alienating some of the people. The guest on the show today that he's taping where he announced that he's being canceled, his guest was Adam Schiff. And I know Adam Schiff loves to tell you that he's a stand-up comedian, but, maybe that's where some of these shows have lost their way. It's nighttime and people want to unwind. But I think more than that, more than the politics, I really think it is a changing of the media landscape, and people do not consume content the way they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely 20 years ago. So Stephen Colbert is getting canceled. His last show will be in May. Do you watch any of these late night shows anymore? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randykabc@gmail.com. Give me a follow on social media at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're reacting to the news that just broke a few minutes ago as CBS and Paramount announced that they are canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert as of next May. They're completely ending the format, which means there will be no late night television at 11:35 on CBS. And there can be a lot of reasons for this. Maybe it's the politics. Maybe it's just the dollars and cents of all of it, because does anybody watch these shows live anymore? As much as I hate to say that, because I know how many people these shows employ, and sure, people watch the clips on YouTube, but is anybody watching these shows when they air? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Thanks for staying on hold, everybody. Let's go to Alan in Simi Valley. Alan, hello.
Hi, Randy. First of all, I really enjoy listening to you. You're one of the same people on radio. I stopped watching late night when Jay Leno retired. I am personally glad that Colbert is leaving the airwaves, because years ago, I think the first time Trump ran for president, or when he ran for re-election, he implied that if you're a Republican and you're Jewish, you're still a racist. And I'm Jewish, and I was very offended. Quite honestly, I don't think Colbert has ever really experienced racism. I have. So, I don't know how he made that connection about being racist and a Republican and Jewish, but I was very offended. So I'm glad he's leaving for good.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't understand that kind of comment, and it also doesn't sound like it's very funny. So I don't know what the point of that was, but he lost you as a viewer right there.
The point was, I was very offended by. I don't know. He somehow made this comment that if you're racist, if you're Republican and you're conservative, even if you're Jewish, you're still a racist. And quite honestly, I was very offended.
Yeah, I can see why. That is generalizing to a point that is just unbelievable. Thank you so much for the call, Alan. Appreciate it. It's those kind of comments. You're literally alienating half the country. So already that, you're not casting as big of a wide net, but maybe that's the problem. These shows got too political. I mean, I know Colbert came from The Daily Show, but, there's a difference between The Daily Show and the late night shows, I thought. But again, I was a fan of a lot of this stuff, but I haven't watched it in a really long time. I think it's just people don't watch live television 11 o'clock at night the way they used to. Let's go to David in Northridge. David, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great.
Hello? Yeah, thank you. I'm driving home. When I heard that, I almost cheered with joy. I liked him in the beginning. He's got a real sharp wit, but he's turned. I won't use the word. What's that word that rhymes with Rick? He's turned into this self-righteous, pompous little Rick. and he's being canceled, and we've got to wait till May for that to happen. And then the little crybaby Jimmy Kimmel, toss his butt out too, both of them.
So you're not watching any of these things?
Not anymore, and seriously, they could easily fill the time slot. Bring back reruns of Jay Leno on one network, and then run Letterman on the other. Bring back reruns of Johnny Carson. There's always been politics. From Johnny Carson, you could have Vietnam, Watergate, Iran-Contra. There's always been politics, and once in a while they make a little joke here and there, but it's not so vicious. They were true comedians.
Yeah, I think comedy's definitely got to be the number one job of a late night show. And if it's not that, then what exactly are we doing here? Because then I guess people should just watch the news instead, or whatever pundit they want to see. Thanks so much for the call, David. Appreciate it. Gosh, you go back into Colbert's history, especially, he comes from the Chicago improv scene and working with Steve Carell, and they both got hired on the Dana Carvey show. And, Guy's had a very interesting career. I wonder what he'll do next. Maybe a podcast, because that's what everybody's doing now. And, you can entertain a lot of people. The only sad thing about everything moving to podcast is there's a lot of camera people. There's a lot of sound guys, the people putting in the crowds, the pages. There's just a lot of people that are very skilled for these kinds of live television jobs that are, those, we're losing a lot of those positions. But, some of it will get made up. Netflix is diving heavily into the live format. So, they just did the John Mulaney live show, which, by the way, is one of the wildest, craziest things out there. Not political at all, just the most bizarre thing on television, like this generation's Conan. That's pretty wild. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Your reaction to Stephen Colbert's Late Show getting canceled as of next May. 800-222-KABC. Do you still watch any of these late night shows? Let's go to Mickey in Encino. Mickey, hello.
Yeah, hey, Randy. How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, anyhow, I don't want or mean to butt heads with you, but we'll get to that in a second. But most of these late night talk shows, I thought, were not really that funny or that clever. Yeah, I thought Colbert, for what he did with his politics, he was pretty good at it. But that's not my point. Like I said, I never really was smitten with most any of these guys, and in particular, Conan O'Brien. I just thought he stunk out loud. I just thought he was utterly talentless, and he thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, which he wasn't. And just as a quick example, there's many examples of them. I know you just finished praising him, but I remember one time Conan was interviewing, the great legendary Ted Williams. And at a certain point in the interview, I don't exactly remember what was said or what led up to it, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, as a total non sequitur, Conan starts unbuttoning some of his buttons on his shirt, and then with his fist start pounding his chest like he's Tarzan or something. And I remember Williams was looking at him like, "What in the F are you doing? What is going?" It was so stupid. It's not the only example, but I just thought Conan stunk. I don't know what else you have to say, but
that's the interesting thing about comedy. It's completely subjective. There are people that certain people find hilarious, that certain people find completely like, why would you ever think that's funny? So I totally respect that. It definitely appeals to my sensibilities, but I can totally see why it wouldn't appeal to your sensibilities.
Right. And I do have a pretty, at times, a corny sense of humor, or I don't know if I should say base, but I never really figured that one out. It was just lame. I don't know what else to tell you, but it was a feeling I always had about him, forgetting about Williams. I just always felt that he thought he was just so funny and the greatest thing since whatever. And it was like, I don't know where he got that from, but anyhow, not to beat a dead horse. So.
Well, I respect your opinion, and it's if any comedian was universally loved, they'd have a massive market share, and it's just not the way it is anymore. Thanks so much for the call, Mickey. Appreciate it. That's, you look at the division of television where in the Carson days you had 20, 30 million people watching. The most any of these shows are getting is maybe 2 million. Maybe people are watching the clips later on YouTube, and if one goes viral, maybe 5 or 6 million people watch it. There's just television and entertainment is so segmented the way, and it only gets more every single year as more and more people go to podcast and everything else. I mean, here we are plugging our podcast every 10 seconds. I'm sure you hear that from every show you listen to. Let's go to Nacho in Huntington Beach. Nacho, hello.
Randy, thanks for taking my call. The late night shows went from being funny to being angry. It's all now anger instead of comedy, and that's why I stopped watching them. I watched Gutfeld. Gutfeld used to have another show that was called Red Eye, and John Phillips used to go on that show. But I don't know why he hasn't gone on Gutfeld, but he should, because it is comedy and it's funny, and the other ones are not. And I mean, well, even not just the host, but on Jimmy Fallon, the band, I think it's called The Roots.
Yeah, The Roots.
They played they played a song where they were insulting Melania Trump. They thought they were hiding the calling her, the C word and witch with a B and all kinds of stuff. And
I think we could be a little more clever than that. Thanks so much for the call, Nacho. Appreciate it. Yeah, I would say anger is definitely something that's going on where, the shows that I would watch, the host is the butt of the joke. And, it's all about getting a laugh, and that's the most important thing. But maybe that's not how things are anymore. I mean, I'd love to do a show that's just about, comedy and jokes and being silly. But ultimately, what people pay attention to is what's going on in their lives and what's important. I don't know. I think the whole media landscape has completely changed. And maybe these formats are... They're just at a point where they're not nearly as relevant as they used to be. Let's go to Steve in Lake Forest. Steve, hello.
Hey, Randy, love your show. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I used to work swing shift, and when I got off, I couldn't wait to go home, pop open a beer, and watch Johnny Carson. I'd watch it every night. And then when I got on days, I'd catch Jay Leno every chance I got. But after that, I got to agree with your previous callers, Nacho and the rest. It got too hateful, too political, too far to the left, and I'm done with it. Have been. I think the landscape agrees with that sentiment. It's just it doesn't have nearly the impact that those shows used to, especially in the Carson days, where if you were a comedian that was on Carson and you went to the couch, everybody in the world knew who you were the next day. That doesn't happen anymore. Couldn't agree with you more, Randy. Love your show. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Of course, it used to be that was the big gatekeeper for entertainment. Now the world is so completely different. Comedy and entertainment is so democratized that anybody can start a YouTube channel, a social media account, a podcast. And if it catches fire, there really isn't anybody that can block you from becoming instantly famous. It's a wild, weird world to be in right now. 800-222-KABC. Your reaction to Stephen Colbert getting canceled after nearly 10 years hosting The Late Show, ending in May 2026. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Dan in Torrance. Dan, hello.
Hey, how's it going, Randy? Love your show, but late night sucks, and it sucks probably since the early 2000s, in my opinion. I don't know. It used to be a platform where comedians can go and become huge superstars like Jim Carrey and Ellen DeGeneres, all these people, even animals and stuff. But now, I don't know. I think Colbert should go back to the Colbert Report. He was a lot funnier when he had that show, and then he just completely switched personality somehow. I don't get it.
Oh, I loved the Colbert Report. That was when he was on his top game. That was the funniest thing for a while. Thanks so much for the call, Dan. Appreciate it. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let me do this before I forget. 790 KABC welcomes Swift Nation, the #1 unofficial live band Taylor sing-along with special guest Bad Guy Billy at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on August 16th. Part of the Toyota Summer Concert Series. Tickets on sale now at packamp.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. All concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing. Let's go to Shy in Paramount. Shy, hello.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hi. I loved it that Colbert get canceled.
Not a fan, huh?
Absolutely not. They're ruining the entertainment business. I can't even watch anything anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people unfortunately have that feeling. It's weird because there's not a whole lot of, events on television where everyone is watching and it's all in the same sphere and we all know what everyone's talking about and we all get each other's references. Well, at least that was the case until everyone finally discovered Love Island, because it feels like that is the show that everyone is talking about, even though it ended last week. And it's your social media feed is full of it and all the interviews and all the gossip and all the tea. Yeah, maybe that's it. The late night landscape is over because everyone's watching Love Island. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.